walk in. Got about a quarter of a mile to go. It is the first day of black powder season. We had a 2.5-inch rain the past about 36 hours. I did go out this morning and was skunked. Been a few deer moving throughout the middle of the day. It's about 3:45 and I'm walking in. Hello, Dakota. See, we've got some on here so far. Be about another minute, and I will you'll be looking at me rather than my intro. Got a show set up here to go tonight, 60 seconds away. Hello there. So far, I see Dakota's on here saying hello. Your trail cameras have been active, but mostly does working scrapes. We're going to talk about scrapes. Hello there, one of my favorite Texans, Michael Boyd. Good to see you on here on the live chat tonight, Michael. Hope your hunting's been going good. The weather's been pretty nice here in Oklahoma lately. I've got some, we're going to talk a little bit about cattle. We're going to talk a little bit about the farm life, and we're going to talk a lot about deer, what all's been going on here. There's Gary's fishing channel. How are you doing, Garrett? Hope all is well. Guys, I haven't figured out yet how to run all of this audio. So if it's too loud on your end, the only thing I can tell you is to turn it down a little bit. Hello there, Rick Hicks, Fast Draw. Thanks I can't read all of that. You're on now, Rick. Good to see you. Deer movement is going good. I just heard my phone go off, so I'm going to silence it. Yeah, deer movement is about to explode up here as well. So getting my phone turned down. About ready to go. I hope y'all can see my shirt. Going to stand up a little bit. I smell commies. We're not going to get too political tonight, I promise that, but I hate to see what just happened in New York City on how that election went. I'll leave it at that. I want to start out by saying black powder season just ended here in Oklahoma. I have had an extremely busy day, wasn't able to get everything ready for tonight, so you're going to see a little bit of last week's stuff as well. We're also going to talk about the cattle market. I want to start out right there at Fairview Livestock. They have replacement stock sales. Everybody knows the cattle market's high. Thanks, Rob. I hope you enjoy the shirt. Says you love it. Hello there, Alan LaCrone, all the way from Alabama. Good old buddy used to hunt with here in Oklahoma. We used to go coon hunting. I went to Allen's and deer hunted the last couple of years. Back to these heifers. Heifers like this, there'll be about 850 head at the next replacement stock sale here in Fairview, Oklahoma. Market has been strong. Did back off a little bit after President Trump's comments about Argentina. I think it scared people a little bit more than it actually It scared people a little bit on the market, and futures went down. Live market, I see, has still been well. I've seen a market report here at Fairview. Fear Not Farm. Been to Syracuse, New York. Beautiful country. Too bad the place is lost. Yep. Lost cause for a while. Yes, sir. I agree, Dakota. So that market report there at Fairview, if you saw, it's been either a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I saw some steers sell. They weighed 469. They brought five and a quarter. I know the market was down this a week ago at El Reno, according to Gary Reed. It was about 30 cents back. That's 30 cents per pound, or for 100 pounds, it'd be $30. Now, but you notice here on some of these steers starting on the left, they sold some of them by the head that just weighed around 280 for 1,700. But let's go down there to the 476 pounders. They bring 510, so that's a little bit back of those 470 pounders for five and a quarter. But if you look right on top of them, 452 pounders still bring five and a quarter. If we jump over there to the heifers, 450 pound heifers was bringing 457. 460 pounders bringing 447. If you go on down, you'll see the cow prices. Packer bulls, 2,000 pound bulls still bring $2 a pound, one side or the other. The cows, $1.60, $1.65 a pound. Some of them bring $1.70. Looks like they didn't have very many pairs or breds, but they were in that $3,000 range. I sold some myself there a couple of weeks ago, and they were just shy of 3,000. Those were cows that were out of time with everything that I had. They weren't going to calve in a timely manner, so I went ahead and turned them so I could have some cash flow. Takes a lot of money here on the farm: fertilizer, seed, fuel, tractor expenses, all the above. I will say this before we get into the hunting topic: we have an absolutely beautiful wheat pasture, rye pasture in this area right now. The summer rains we had were great. Then we come to the fall and it slowed down just a little bit. We went about 30 days without rain, had some bug damage, but all of a sudden, whenever we got, here we are, November the 5th. In the last, well, I started planting on September the 27th, I believe. We got into October, we got rains. We've had some nice rains since then, and we have some beautiful, beautiful winter pasture we're going to have. And also the summer grasses uh, got better growth than they had in a few years. I talked to Rob Sims there. He's on the channel. In the chats, he just told me that he had purchased 17 replacements as well. Uh, Everything seems high, but I tell you what, whenever we're going to sell a calf for $4 to $5 a pound, we can afford to buy some replacement stock as well. I showed you last week, I saw this big 4-pointer. This was right before black powder season started. This was a picture that I took out of my pickup while I was feeding cattle. I've got a few trail cam pictures of this 4-pointer. He's not completely mature, but you just don't see very many of them made with a rack like that. I wished he was a year older. I'd probably be after him. Your food plot's doing well, Dakota. Radishes and clover. I knew that it had rained over your way too. Yeah, the cold front's here. Going to slow down a little bit of that growth, but hopefully you'll get it up for some winter chewing for the wildlife. But that 4-point, I don't know what makes them all grow the way they do. Most of our bucks around here that would be about that same age can sport a 8 or a 10-point rack. Might not be as heavy as a big mature deer, but the antler growth is usually more significant than what we saw right there. Going to go down here. I have been flying my drones. This last week, trying to think here, I flew at 4 different customers. Unfortunately, those deer that are not found, whenever a person tries to shoot one, they graze it, they don't hit it, maybe in the absolute best spot. So they've given up on a blood trail. They're having struggles. and they're calling in dogs, they're calling in drones. So I want to show you one right here. Now, on these thermals, you cannot see antlers very well unless you turn the light on your drone. But you can see this buck right here was quartered to him, shot right there. The broadhead expanded as it was supposed to. They didn't get much penetration. It's hard to tell somebody sometimes. I personally didn't feel like the shot was in the vitals. This had already been a few hours. I did go track the deer for him again the next morning. The deer was still upright and alive. I gave them the coordinates, let them know where it was. They could walk in at a later time period and see if they could get that buck finished off. But a quartered to him, kind of high shoulder area. I really don't think it was in the vitals, or else it would have been expired sooner. I know I've got a couple more here. Here is one of them that was down. Once again, you can see the head is up. Moving the drone around just a little bit there. I'm going to try and check on things. This was a completely different deer, different place. But this just shows you a little bit about how those drones can work. Very many of you might have already seen some drone videos. You're back and forth on mechanical or fixed blades. I guess you got to know where you're shooting. Try to do the best. Yep. I tell you what, I've used both, and I have never had any trouble with the mechanical, other than my own human error. I'm going to go to the light right now on that buck. Now, I was close to 200 foot high. So as I slowly zoomed in there, you can see what the spotlight view would look like on the buck that's down. Luckily, he wasn't completely underneath the shade of the trees. A lot woollier than it looks from the video, but that'll give you some idea of a drone. Now, if I could have gotten closer, I could have been able to tell you where some of those entries were. But once again, an animal laying there, still alive, at least able to get an idea of where the people need to go. Hello there, Lynn Farm. Good to see you on here tonight. They say it helps if people will hit that like button. So if you can, everybody hit that like button. If you have a different type of social media and want to share it on a different social media, I would appreciate that as well. Get as many viewers as possible. Part of the reason I started this, you just don't see people like we used to at the hunter check-in stations. I wanted to be able to communicate with people across the state, across the nation, and see about how their market was. I can always tell you pretty close to how ours was here in northwestern Oklahoma. And I can tell you a little bit about how the weather is and how the deer are responding in our area. So Lynn Farm, Okie, glad you're on here again. Going to get to some. I had a friend send in a deer. This was actually taken out of state, but Ian Schneider is who harvested this buck. It was in Iowa. So Garrett Sims sent that in to me. That's a cousin of his. Congratulations, Ian. That is an absolute monster buck. I can't say that they don't grow them like that down here, but that is a unique one for sure. Quite the trophy, Ian. Congratulations. Last week I showed these right here. I'm going to show them once again tonight because I did struggle with the live feed last week. This was John Savage here in Oklahoma. Tremendous buck. Thing's got to be somewhere close to 180 inches. Dakota, I'll have to ask about that. If Ian is on here watching, maybe he can comment, or maybe Garrett Sims knows. It seems like they might be a one buck state. I hear people say that Oklahoma needs to be. I sure hope we don't go to that. The more and more deer that are harvested here in the state is not a bad thing for the vehicles. I love to hunt. I'm going to take mature bucks myself. If we made it a one buck state, that would probably hurt me. You believe? Yeah. So if we made it a 1 buck state, that would probably hurt me. I love hunting, do it every fall, every winter. Got a pretty good chance of getting on 2 mature bucks. Um, they don't have to be mature, but you get more meat from them. And I kind of like to look at their antlers, like to let them get to maturity. And I always like to take some does as well. I'll get my limit of does every year. I encourage as many people as I can to do that. I do realize if we were only taking 1 buck per person, there would be more reach maturity, but there's only about 9% statewide of the hunters who take 2 bucks. So it really wouldn't change that much. Trail cameras, in my opinion, have changed hunting so much. We used to, everybody had a tail of a big buck. Uh, Everybody had seen a big buck, but we really didn't know exactly what it was, even though you could look through binoculars, spotting scopes, whatever. Those trail cameras pretty much let us know what deer are on the farms, and it makes people wait so much longer that know what are there or what potentially could be there. Just like right now, they're already breeding here in northwest Oklahoma. I'm not saying every doe's in heat, so nobody take me like that, but they are breeding in northwest Oklahoma. We've had a couple cold fronts there in late October, had a north wind today. I thought it would be pretty good. But once again, the feeders, if people are hunting around feeders, I keep hearing people talk, they're not coming into my feeder. Well, they've got something on their mind besides a feeder. They've got acorns on the ground everywhere. They've also got does that are coming in heat, and it is, like I say, starting to get in there to breed. Going back here to John Savage, I loved it what he put on Facebook. He said he doesn't always harvest a buck, but when he does, he really likes to get a good one, and that was a crazy good one. McAllister Army Ammunition Depot buck right there. I don't remember if they said that scored 192 or 197 as a gross, but that is 2 bucks in Iowa. Thanks for coming in here, Rob. I didn't know that for sure. 192 or 197, it doesn't matter either way. An absolute tank of a buck right there coming at McAllister Army Ammunition Depot. This was once again last week. It was a buck that Hunter Stubblefield took. I love those big mule deer forks on the whitetail. What an absolute giant. Saw one tonight on Facebook as well. Bill Hart, Heart of Oklahoma Outdoors. He's got a Facebook channel. He shares a bunch of bucks that people send him, and there was another. I don't even know what to say. It could have been close to a 200-inch buck that was taken, and we sure didn't see things like that whenever we were kids. Uh, it's grown a lot. People feeding deer, people planting food plots, people letting deer get to maturity, and there are still people who are going to go take a younger buck. There are going to be people who would rather take a 6-point young buck than rather than taking 2 does. They're the ones buying their tags, not me. I'm going to encourage the people that ask me and give them as much advice as I can. I want to show you here. It's 2025 right now. If we go back to 2022, I'm in the stand right here, and you see this buck. He's got pretty good potential. This is late December, right around Christmas time. Width, got some mass, got a nice frame, doesn't have much tine length. But that is not a mature deer right there. The biggest part of people would want to try and harvest that deer because it's bigger than a spike. It's bigger than most 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, and really as a 3-year-old buck, it's not all that great of a buck, but that's what it is. Next, I want to go to what he turned into. Dakota, you're hoping that they stay away from antler restrictions. The 2 bucks are just right. You can apply for draw hunts and stuff like that. You're correct. And we can also leave the state of Oklahoma and go to other places to hunt. So this was this buck as we believed him to be a 3-year-old. Now this is the following year, same farm. He doesn't really turn where you can see the width, but we've got some live video of him like this from the deer stand. We've got a few trail cam pictures every year also, and that is undoubtedly the same buck, just a year older. I suspect he was a 4-year-old then. Look at those pads on the back as much as they are. A buck who's doing the breeding, those pads will be dark like that. And when they're doing more breeding, they're an older buck, and he's showing some pretty good signs of maturity right there. I actually was wishful that my son would have finished that buck that day, but he didn't want to take him because he was missing brow tines and only had basically 6 points plus one more small one. I want to go to the next year. Now, this was filmed with a cell phone, so it might be a little bit less clear, might be a little bit distorted. Same buck, walks right by the bow stand, a little bit wider, still doesn't have all the greatest tines. Believed him to be a 5-year-old then. And once again, we've got a few trail cam pictures of him every year. It's not showing his width off right there. But I've got news for you folks. When I get my next video done, which will be a longer video than I normally do, you'll be able to see how wide that deer turned out to be, how many points he had, and what I believe to have been at least a 6-year-old buck is now on the ground in the freezer. We've already eaten some of him here in Oklahoma. So that video should be coming out soon. I hope y'all will tune in and watch it. Back to those scrapes. This is one of these bucks that we kind of had on the target from this year. And you can notice right behind his rear end, there is a spot where the bucks have been pawing. This was a doe that was right in there with him. So she really didn't know what to think of him, I guess, while he's laying down there. But I thought it was a pretty cool sight that went on with that buck. This was another place that I was hunting at during black powder season. Had another buck in there working a scrape line. I myself don't typically see bucks working a scrape line, but I was looking at some scrape lines today on another farm. They have not been touched in what looked like to me for days. That tells me those bucks are not checking them regularly. They're not working them regularly. That's probably not just happening here in northwest Oklahoma, probably going on all across the state. And I did get one picture sent to me that was a buck that was breeding a doe, and that was in southeastern Oklahoma. I haven't seen that yet here, but I've seen them paired up. I know it's happening. Tonight, my son Carter was hunting. It's funny. We got a picture of the buck he was wanting to get. He was a mile and a half away with a doe on a completely different farm. I was running late getting home this evening, still finished some of my cattle chores, and that buck was out in the road with a young buck and a doe. I wasn't anywhere close to running over him, but they're fixing to be in the road for everybody, and they paid no attention to my pickup at all. They were on that doe's tail. They actually jumped our fence a couple times. They jumped the neighbor's fence a couple times, and were right back out in the road. They're with does or on the hunt. Yes, I agree, Michael. Did you see very many today? I also want to congratulate a young lady. I know she got her first buck today, her first deer. She did it in public land from the ground. I actually went and helped her try and track a deer a few days ago. That was the one that was shot high. Go back to it. Where is that buck at? There he is. That one was shot high. So after they went back in on it to try and finish it the next day, the buck ended up getting up, I guess, and went. They watched it go a long ways. There was no blood being left. Entry had sealed over. Dakota, I'm reading what you said. Still pre-rut there, but a small percentage of them are hot. It's only going to get more intense for the next couple of weeks. That is right. Yeah. So this young lady who had shot this deer right here, she didn't make a bad shot. And that's what I told her. I said, don't beat yourself up. But she just, Michael, you saw a nice buck paired up. Yeah. Nice buck and a doe paired up this evening. It's happening. So I told her, she had pretty well beat herself up. And I said, it happens. You can be an inch out of that vitals. We're looking at a vital area on that buck from shoulder back for a quick ethical kill. All you got to do is be out of it a couple inches, an inch, and it just changes the outcome. But I know they looked for the deer before they contacted me. They went in on the deer the next day, which had actually moved about 200 yards, and then weren't able to get the deer. The deer got up, and I firmly believe that deer will live. It sure wasn't going to pass on because of where it was hit. I mean, that had been, they shot her around 5 o'clock, shot him around 5 o'clock. The next morning, I believe it was around 9 o'clock, maybe, whenever they had found it, and then it got up and went on. So, and not leaving any blood, not traveling poorly. So, yes, congrats to her. She got one today. They actually called me and wanted me to come over and get some footage of it. She was ecstatic, looked like a nice mature buck to me. 8-point missing part of a main beam. That buck was facing her, and she got him right below the white patch on his neck. But I'll probably have that in here next week. She was a military lady who told me that she served in the military. After she got out of the military, she's now enrolled in college, taking college courses, whitetail hunting on public land. Congratulations, Christina. I'm going to go back here. I've already shared this Ian Schneider buck. I heard he was going to be watching today, and I didn't see him in the comments. I sure hope that he is able to see it. I realize it's not from Oklahoma, but congratulations due to a young man on a magnificent buck. On a magnificent one. I personally, I'm went through pretty much everything I wanted to show you guys tonight. It's a great time to be in the woods. If you're a cattle owner, it's a great time to be selling cattle, even though the market's down a little bit. It's a pretty hot paycheck. Uh, I hope everybody's having a good November thus far. If any of you listening, know of somebody who needs some meat to put in their freezer, I realize there is people. I don't even know all the initials for it, but there's different services where people haven't been getting some food that they need. I've talked to our local church here where we attend at the Faith Center, talked to our preacher. If somebody needs some deer meat, I will gladly harvest a doe, make things into ground meat for them, and help them out. Now, some people don't want to speak up and say, but if you know of somebody who's looking, I would gladly try and help out and do our part. We eat a lot of deer out of the year. My wife is actually, everybody's probably going to say she got bit by a tick. She'll quickly say that wasn't the case. But about a year to 2 years ago, she found out she was allergic to beef. She was staying sick all the time. So she mixes ground deer meat with pork sausage, cooks it just about like we're eating beef then. You're thinking about taking 2 bull calves to the sale this weekend, Dakota? Yeah. I'm not sure where you sell them out there in eastern Oklahoma, but I bet it'll be a hot market. Yeah. But if you know of somebody who's needing some meat, don't be afraid to reach out and get a hold of me. If you don't have my phone number, probably most of you don't, the easiest way is 3doutdoor@gmail.com. If you've got a son, cousin, daughter, whomever, if you yourself harvested a nice buck, send me a picture of it through email, send me a short video. I'll get it in the next week's episode. And thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend who might be interested in the same type of content. They can join in next week, and this live video will be on my channel. Can be reviewed at another date. If you want to go back and look want to look at that Fairview market report. And remember, Fairview does have numerous replacement sales throughout the year. They've got one coming up here in November, 850 head special cow and replacement heifer sale. Dakota, there it is. There's allegedly a person in Tulsa took electroshock therapy that is supposedly guaranteed to fix the alpha gal. Sounds weird, but if I ever come down with it, I'll be buying it. Hey, I missed one thing here, folks. I'm not done yet. I want to show you this. As soon as you said there, alpha gal, right there's a lady, a little heifer calf, and right there is her twin brother. So they were born 2 days ago. Mama came in there with one of them nursing. I've been feeding them in the pen there at the barn. The little charcoal colored one there belongs to the Charlet. These calves are anywhere from just days old to 60 days old or so. But once again, the little bull calf with the white face and his twin sister right outside the pen. If you have raised cattle before, you may have heard this, and you may not have, but a heifer and a bull born together, that heifer will not be fertile. Dakota even told me on a YouTube video what that was called, and I'm at a blank right now again for the proper wording. You're not the only one who told me, but I can't remember it. But that heifer will not be a breeder. I'm just about done with that place for the fall calving. I've been feeding them up in that corral daily just so those calves will get more used to me. Their mamas are all gentle. Other than that, bull sometimes scares me just a little bit. But I just about forgot about that video right there of those twins. I wished I'd have had them both there together with their mama. One was just outside the pen while she was eating. As she actually left and went out of there, that little heifer went to nursing her, and I'd already seen the bull nurse her today. So thank y'all for watching. Have a great evening. Good luck hunting, and stay safe on the roads. Liable to have a deer jump right out in front of you. Until next week.